Welcome back to Learning Partners. So in this scenario, again, we are going to see one very normal and daily use code. Again, it's a logical scenario. So if you can see the form, it's an employee form where employee detail is single. You can see employee detail is single, but his family relatives details are going to be multiple, right? So this is kind of a form we normally come across where we have a single information, and for that information, we have to insert some multiple information also, right? So this is the best way to handle that. I have created one API also. So if I show you the object, so if you can see this is an object, inside that we have this single properties, and inside this single property in mock employee relatives, I have to send the array of relatives, right? So you can see this is an array. So this should be your UI, right? On click of add, you will be adding multiple relatives into this table. On click of delete, you will be removing. And on click of save, you need to send employee object plus his relative details also. So let's get started with the Angular side. So this is the component I have created, and this is its .ts. Let me just copy paste the HTML code. So this will go to my HTML. Let's save logical employee. So you can see same UI we can get in. Let me just close this. Right now, what is we have this object, right? So we just need to copy this and we have to create the exact same replica of this object. So employee object equal to, sorry, colon any equal to our object, right? So let me just make the first letter small, let it be capital, right? Now I need to create one more object of this relative. So I will remove this. This is employee object, which is having employee relative as an array. Then we need another object that is employee relative object colon any equal to our object. So we have to create two objects. First is the employee object with the basic details, and second is the employee relative object. Now we need to bind this to our form. This is an existing project, so everything like ng model and everything I have already in app module. We have to import that forms model to use the ng model, that is already done. So round bracket ng model equal to double quotes, then employee object dot, right? So let me just copy paste this, right? So you can see I have added all ng model to all our control. So employee object dot name, contact number, email, like that up to designation, because we have the single information inside the left side. Okay, let me just now. So first part is done, means the left side part is done. So this left form means employee basic detail. We have binded the ng model of that particular form, that is employee object, right? Now we need to bind this to our second form, that is the relative form. So here relative will be over here. Then the properties name, relation, and age. IDs we don't bind, right? Because that is the API purpose only. Let's save and check. So you can see the details are coming correctly. Now let's empty the object. This will be empty. Let's save. Right. So we have created two objects. First is the employee and second is the relative. Then we have binded that using ng model to our all form element. Next thing is we need to use the for loop, right? So employee object, let me create a array. You can see over here we need to show the employee list also, a family relative list also. So for that I'm going to create one variable, that is relative list colon any array equal to empty. And this variable I will be using on the table to show my relative list. So on a tr, we have to use ng for star ng for equal to let relative of relative list. Then instead of static data, we need to just bind it with the interpolation relative dot. Let me just copy paste. Now the values will be name, relation, and age. Name, relation, and age. Right. So no need of this static data. Let me remove that. Now, what we have done till now, we have created two objects and one array to hold the relative list. Now, so first thing is like on click of this add means, let me save it. On click of this add, we need to add whatever the detail user field over here into that array. So let's write the code for that. Click event, add relative, round bracket. All right. Let's create this function. Right. So here what we need to do, we need to push element our relative object to this array, that is employee relative list dot shifter. Let's instead of push, we will use unshift so that record will be added to the top. This dot like this. Let's try to save and check. So let's say Sachin. Let's say relation will be brother, age will be 45. Add. Let's see, some error is there. No error is there. Let's try one more time. Yes, right. So file was not saved. So you can see I have added the record. But one thing you can see, I have added it. But if I'm trying to adding again now, it is getting changed because so it is holding the link. So we need to detach that link. For that, we just need to create over here a constant because this array is getting binded with this object. So whenever we are changing now, that particular property is getting changed to that all the array elements also. Let me show you that also. See, if I'm changing over here, everywhere it is changing because that object and that array field names are getting linked. So whenever we are making changes, that is also getting changed. So for that, we just need to make a small change. So obj is equal to string obj. So we just need to convert it to the string format, json.stringify. We have to pass this over here. So here what we have done, we have converted the object into string format. Now that link will be detached. Then again, we need to convert it back to the object. So obj is equal to json dot parse. And we need to pass the stringified object, that is str object. And then this object we will be passing to push and ship. So let's see now. Sachin, a brother, age 45, add. Right? If I change now Ankit, so you can say it is not reflecting now. Add. So you can see two record. But one more thing we can do on click of add, we should empty this form, right? So empty this form means we just have to empty the object. So let me just copy this like this, right? So let's save and check it now. Sachin, brother, 45 on click of add, you can see form is also getting empty, right? So first part is done. On click of add, we have added the relative to array. Then we need to make the API call. Because on click of save employee, we need to pass this, we need to hit this API. So this is, let me just try it out, execute. I just need the URL. So this is going to be my URL. So let's create a function. So first, before this, we need to create instance of HTTP client because we are going to make the API call. So we need the instance of HTTP. So private HTTP colon HTTP client. Then after add relative, let's create save employee function. Now here we need to write this dot HTTP dot post method because we are going to insert the data, right? And the object we need to send for this particular API is the whole object, means employee detail also and the relatives also. So that is nothing but this employee object, because in this employee object we have employee details and relative array. So this we need to pass over here. So this dot employee object. Let's like the subscribe call. Colon any. Right. Now we need to call this function on this button click, that is save. On the save employee, we are going to call this function. Let's me save. Let's check it now. What happens? Let's enter contact number, Sahil, city, state, pin code, and designation. Okay, so now if I click on save employee, let's open the particular component over here. Let's add the debugger to that function. Now, if I click on save employee in the employee object, see, all the detail came, but employee mock relative is empty. But in the table, we can see two relatives we have added. So that is in different array. That is employee relative list. So when we save now, we just have to add that array into employee object dot this property mock employee relatives is equal to the relative array is in this particular variable, that is relative list. So we just need to do this. Right. So after that, we will be getting the object. Let me show you what object we get. So this kind of object we get. So we can add a check of result. If res dot result is true, then we can show alert box like employee created successfully. Message is also coming from backend. So res dot message I will use. Right. So let's save and check it now. Let's enter the detail. Designation senior software, Sachin, brother, 23. Let's add two relatives only. Right. Now, if I click on save employee, just pay attention. Now in employee object, we get all the detail. Oh, we have made the mistake. Should be employee object, but we have used. We have to do it again. In employee object dot property, we need to push, not relative. Again, we have to fill the form. So let me just fill it. So I have filled the form. So now if we click on the save employee, so you can see employee detail is there and we have added three relatives. So if I click on save employee, just pay attention on the object. In employee object, currently we don't have any relative, but our relative is in this variable, right? So if I continue, now if you see the employee object, this is employee single detail, and in employee relatives, we have got three relatives, right? So let me add the debugger, continue. So in result dot, we have got true, and message also employee created successfully, that we are showing in the alert box, right? So employee creation is done. Another thing is we need to show the list also of employee. So let's create one more function, that is load get all employee. this dot http dot get URL. Let's see what URL we have. Get all employees, write out, execute. This is going to be my URL. This we need to pass it over here. Since this is get employee get method, so we just need one parameter, result colon any. Right. So we will be making this API call. So let's me call this function in the constructor. Ideally, we don't call it in the constructor. We use the ng on it. But since I have not created, okay, now we need one more variable where we are going to store the employee list. So employee list colon any, it is going to be array, right? So employee list will go over here. This dot employee list is equal to res dot data. In data, we get the actual list. So if you can see in data, we have got the actual list. So you can see 2 employees are there. So let me save and let's check the network call if API call is over there or not. On reload. Yes. So you can see employee call is there. In response, we have got 2 employee details. Now we just need to show that in the table. So let me just create one more row. Dot call 12. Table. Right. Let me just design the basic table. Right. So basic table I have created. So these are the headings I will have. Now we just need to design the T body. In T body, TR will be there. Inside that, we have 7 headings. So we just need the 7 columns, right? So before that, let me just write the for loop. Star ng for equal to let emp off our variable where we have the employee list. So that is employee list. It will go over here. And we are going to show the serial number. So again, we need one more variable, index is equal to index. So this index will be over here. By default, index will start from 0. So we have to use the +1. Then we need TD. And here again, interpolation emp dot. Let me just copy paste this basic code. Then name, contact number, email, city, state, designation. Let's see the spelling. So let's save and check it now. But that is not visible. Okay. On the bottom, it is visible. But what we need, we can create one more variable to show and hide. Is new div colon boolean. By default, I will make it false. And with this variable, I will be using over here star ng if and vice versa of this with the false. So not we have to add. Let me add one more button. BTN SM. Now on click of add, we just need to change that flag. So we can use it over here only, not equal to not of this. So let me save and then let's check. Right. So on click of add, you can see on click of add, we are getting the form, table or the list, right? So we have shown the whatever the record we have inserted. 2 records are there in the table so that you can see. Now we just need to edit it. So we just need to add one more button into the table. So one more button will be over here. Button class PTN. This will be edit. So on click of edit, we need to one more API call will be there to get the record of employee and its family detail also. So get employee. and we need to pass the ID, that is emp dot emp ID. We need to create this function. After get employee, we will create it. So from front end, we are sending ID, right? So we need to cache that. So it will be emp ID. Again, we need to make the API call. So this dot http dot get. So let's check the API to get the employee data. So after this, we have this API. Write out one C. So this is going to be API where we have to pass the employee ID and it will get all the details. In double quote, we need to pass it. Now this instead of one, it will be dynamic. So plus whatever the ID we get from the parameter, we need to pass it. Let's just give the data type to this. And again, subscribe call will be there. Dot subscribe result colon any. Right. So let me just add a debugger and show you what kind of data we get. If I inspect, so if I click on Ram Kumar edit, you can see API call is there. And in result data, you can see we have got the employee detail and its relative also. If you remember, we have added three relatives, we have got that data. Now we need to store it properly to our employee array. So this employee object will have, it will go to this dot employee object is equal to res, capital Res. Let's save and check. And one more thing, on click of edit, we just need to change that view also, right? We need to show the form. So for that, this dot is equal to true. So that form will be visible. So on click of edit, okay, let's see what went wrong. On click of edit. Okay, so we have added result. It should be result.data because actual data in data property. Now it will work fine. On click of edit, we have got the data into the employee object. And you can see that data is getting populated, but we cannot see the relative. Why? Because in the HTML, in the form, we have used another variable, that is relative list. So whatever the data we have got, whatever the relative data we have got, we need to show that in employee relative list is equal to this dot employee list dot this mock relative array. So let's save and check. Now whole detail will be visible. On click of edit, right? So in employee object, we have got everything. Now that out of that relative list we have assigned over here. So if I continue, you can see the same detail we have got, right? So whatever the form we had stored, employee detail and its relative, that same detail we can see it over here. Now on click of update, we just need to hit another API. So that is update employee. So if you can see, this is just same like as it is. Just like same, just the URL will be changed, right? So now if employee object dot employee ID is 0, then we will show the add button. Save button. Otherwise, we need to show the update button, right? So for that, I will just use the ngif. So employee object dot emp ID equal to 0. Let's say when it is equal to 0 means it is we are creating new employee. But if employee ID is not equal to 0, because when we edit, we got some ID over here. So in that case, it will be update. And it will be update employee. Let's create this function. After save, right? So here again, same thing. We just need to copy this, paste it over here. Instead of create employee, now it will be update employee. Remaining same is the theme. Same code. You can see same code is here. Just the URL change will be there, right? And after this, we can call our get employee method also. And this dot. Same, this function will also be called when we save. So that updated list will be visible in the table. And we just need to make it false. False. And same code over here. So let's test it now. So see, if I click on add, you can see save employee button is visible, right? But if I click on edit, you can see update employee because now we have the employee ID. Let's add one more employee, one more relative. Rahul. Let's say he is his second brother. Age will be 26 on click of add, right? Let's click on, let's check the network call on click of update. Employee updated successfully message we have got. Update employee payload. See, we have sent 4 record. Okay. Now if I open this, you can see 4 records are visible over here, right? So this is the way you should handle this kind of scenario. This is just a scenario where I have considered employee and its relative, but in your case, it can be anything, product, its variant, then what designation, its senior employees, anything where you have a single entity and related multiple entities are going to be there. So this is the way how you should handle that scenario. The logic is just to you have to create the 2 separate objects. First is the single entity object and second object is the multiple, right? So this is the whole code. And to detach the linking, we just had done this parsing thing. Other than it is just basically API call. And in the get employee, we just need to store that multiple data into particular array where we have used the formula, right? So hope you must have found this example very interesting. Please do like and subscribe and please share my videos.